2006 IoT webcast series. I would like to introduce Simon Berman from Jasper. Simon?
Thanks, Paul. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us today. In this presentation, I'm going to talk about a few things. Number one, the key challenges to becoming an IoT business. Number two, the critical capabilities required to quickly deploy, manage, and monetize IoT services on a global scale. And thirdly, give some real-life customer examples and case studies of companies that have already transformed their business using IoT. So by way of introduction, Jasper has been in business for over a decade now, and based on what we just heard now, prior to Facebook becoming the name brand that it is today. And in that time, we've amassed a very respectable user base of our IoT services management platform, Control Center, which is used today by more than 2,000 enterprises across dozens of industries and in more than 100 countries. And it's our experiences working with enterprises like these that give us the credentials, I think, to talk today about what we see as the transformative power of IoT. So the first thing I would say is that we believe that the Internet of Things isn't actually about things. It's really about service. Can enterprises offer new services to their customers? Can they engage more closely with their customers? Can they transform from being product-focused to being service-focused? And that's really what we've seen from our customer base. So in its most simplistic form, any IoT connected device business has four key elements. The first are the devices that you deploy in the field, whether it be a car or a vending machine, or an office printer, an oil pipeline monitoring device. Then you have the networks that they connect through and the applications and back-end IT systems like SAP that power those devices. And then you have the management platform that makes these three elements work seamlessly together. And that's really where Control Center fits in. It's an IoT services management platform that transforms just having connected devices and apps into a true IoT service, and that is one that can be run at the lowest cost, the highest availability, and one that provides a superior customer experience so that enterprises can quickly deploy, manage, and monetize their IoT services globally. Now, IoT doesn't change your business, but it does change the way you do business as you focus on these IoT connected devices. Let me give you some real-life examples of what it means to transform to a services business. I'm sure everyone is familiar with John Deere, leading provider of agricultural equipment, such as the farm tractor. IoT has enabled them to transition from being an equipment manufacturer to being a service provider. Now, as an equipment provider, they sold you a tractor. And that sale was really a point-in-time transaction where the majority of the revenue was acquired at the point of sale. And so the engagement with the customers were transaction-based, and the focus of the relationship was really about the product. But today, that tractor is now using sensors and monitors and other technology to provide farmers with additional services, such as reporting on the average fuel consumption, the tractor's health and performance. And John Deere is now offering completely new services such as real-time weather information, real-time soil analysis, and yield forecasting. And IoT has really enabled them to create this immersive, ongoing engagement with their farming customers, which gives them insight into how their products are being used, and even allows them to offer new sets of services that tap into new revenue streams. And that's really the benefit of IoT, in that it allows you to continuously engage with your customers through your devices and the applications. Another example is ABB, a provider of automation technologies like industrial robotic equipment. You typically find these robots in a manufacturing facility used to produce things like cars and airplanes. They're all daisy-chained together on the production line, and if one of the robots stopped working for whatever reason, then the entire production line would be impacted. And for their customers, that could cost tens of thousands of dollars for every minute of downtime. But today, that robot is using embedded sensors and connectivity to report back to ABB on its health and performance, so they can offer their customers new services such as remote monitoring, preventative maintenance before a part fails, and over-the-air remote software patching, all of which result in an even higher level of reliability for that equipment. But there are a lot of misconceptions on how to manage IoT, especially around the operational complexities of delivering these connected services. If ABB would have simply deployed their robots and connected their sensors and technology on a cellular network with the applications, it would not necessarily allow them to fulfill on the promise of IoT. They needed to manage an IoT service lifecycle. And it's the management of the IoT services lifecycle that transforms the connection of devices and the applications into a true IoT service. So let me explain what an IoT service lifecycle is and give you an example of what managing that actually involves. An IoT services lifecycle is the series of interdependent processes that need to continuously work together and be monitored and managed to ensure that the devices and the mobile networks, the applications and the IT backend systems are all seamlessly and efficiently working together. Now we see three stages for the life cycle. Just having a slide problem here. The first is the, one second. Having a slide problem here. Yep, that's it. The first is the deploy stage, and here you want to test the devices before they get deployed to make sure that they can connect and use the network services properly. The last thing you want to do is deploy equipment into some remote location only to have it fail to connect because of technical issues. Lots of companies will store their equipment in inventory or distribution sites for weeks at a time. So you'll want to make sure that the devices can be put in an inactive state. And when the equipment is ready to be deployed, you'll want to ensure that they are service ready, so that once they're turned on, they immediately connect to the network, connect to the back-end application, and can deliver the service without any human intervention. In the manage phase, companies need to establish standards for how they expect their devices and their services to behave. They need to define the typical usage policy for the device. For example, should it connect once a day to upload its data, or should it send no more than a certain amount of data each day? And they need to constantly monitor the changing network conditions and the device behavior and optimize those devices to ensure the highest service reliability. Now, invariably, problems will occur on those devices, so companies need to be able to quickly identify and diagnose those problems so they can be resolved quickly and cost effectively, hopefully without sending a technician on site. And finally, at some point, you may want to decommission a particular device, particular piece of equipment, maybe to remove it from active use or put it back into inventory or maybe even to end of life it. And then in the monetize phase, companies need real-time usage and rate plan data, and they need to monitor what services are being used to ensure that their devices are running at the lowest possible cost and the highest possible levels of efficiency. And here you want to ensure that the data consumed by the various services are being monitored and billed appropriately. And this stage is all about growing the business and expanding into new markets globally and doing it quickly and cost effectively. So it's really the complexity of the IoT services lifecycle that makes it impossible to manage manually. And because the lifecycle moves so fast, you have to be able to constantly monitor the changing network conditions and the device behavior in order to resolve problems quickly. And you'd have to do all of this for every single device and every single market you roll out to, making it very difficult to scale. So what are the key requirements for an IoT services management platform? Well, firstly, it needs to offer built-in automation of the entire IoT services lifecycle. Second, it needs to monitor the network conditions and behavior of every single device in real time. And thirdly, it needs to help you to quickly scale the business or even expand into new countries or regions. And that's really what Control Center is all about. It provides what we call set and forget automation of the entire IoT services lifecycle. So you can codify your business processes and let it run on an autopilot. Number two is it gives you real-time network intelligence with continuous monitoring of changing network conditions and device behavior. And number 3 is that it's deeply integrated into over 20 mobile operator groups around the world, making it very easy to go global. So when we ask the 2,000 or so customers why they chose Control Center to deliver their IoT connected services, they would say several things. Number 1, they would say that they rely on the platform's automation capability because it gives them zero-touch management of each and every single device. So they can go to market quickly, they can run their business at the lowest operating cost, and they can provide a very seamless experience to the customers. Number 2, they would say that they rely on the network intelligence that provides this continuous monitoring of the changing network and usage conditions so they can ensure the highest levels of reliability and a fantastic user experience, at the same time keeping the cost to a minimum. And thirdly, they would say that they rely on it because of its deep integration with 20 plus mobile operating groups, allowing them to instantly turn on their service in over 100 countries so they can get to market quickly in any country in the world. The way we distribute the Control Center platform is via the mobile operators around the world. The operators sell their network services along with Control Center as a single integrated solution to the customer. Customer plugs into Control Center once, integrates into it, into the back office systems like SAP, and essentially every time you work with a new mobile operator, you essentially switch on Control Center with a single click, leveraging that same initial integration. And it's because of that deep integration with the global mobile operating groups that we can help you scale into new markets at a fraction of the time. So if we talk quickly about the integration with SAP, there are actually a couple of use cases. So many customers will integrate SAP with Jasper Control Center to operationalize their supply chain and inventory management. An example would be with, say, a connected car. So when the car arrives at the showroom, the SAP system would trigger an API call to Control Center, which would basically automatically provision the relevant connected services to the car to enable that car to be demoed. Maybe turn on the safety and security capabilities, enable the Wi-Fi hotspot, the infotainment services. But when the car is then sold, SAP would then trigger another API call to Control Center, which would then re-provision those connected services for that specific car. So, for example, it may deactivate the Wi-Fi and infotainment services because they require the consumer to pay for a subscription service. Maybe it would activate a 3-month trial for the safety and security capabilities, and maybe it would deactivate other services altogether. Now, when it comes to the HANA platform, we recently announced a collaboration with SAP, and the idea here is that we can add business value by providing actionable insights into the big data engine to help with decision making. So, for example, let's take a company that sells industrial manufacturing robots. So with HANA, they have a platform that provides them with enormous amounts of data that helps them guide them through the product design, the manufacturing, the sales and marketing of the robots. Now, by connecting all of those robots to Jasper Control Center, they now get constant data feeds as to the state and the performance of those devices once they're deployed, which gives the product teams real-time access to a whole new set of data, which in turn means a more holistic view of the life cycle of both their products and services. So what I wanted to do now is to share some more customer examples and other use cases that I think are very interesting to share. So the first one again is this is ABB. As I mentioned before, ABB now embeds sensors and connectivity into their robots that allows them to offer new remote monitoring services to their customers to ensure a highly reliable service. Now, this enables ABB not only to do preventative maintenance and to anticipate issues, but also to identify robots requiring immediate attention and automate responses before the problems occur. And with Control Center, these automated responses can be created based on a customer's on a robot's status, such as changing a rate plan, deactivating or reinstating devices, or performing some kind of a remote diagnostics. And what ABB finds is that their customers can see an increase of 11% in manufacturing productivity, a 28% reduction in labor costs, and a 22% reduction in support costs. The next example is in the world of a different business altogether, that of vending machines. And I see here that the font didn't come out too well. But in the past, how did a typical owner of the vending machine system operate? Well, they would basically dispatch their drivers from one machine to the next, like in a round robin. They would manually inspect each one, see what products needed replenishing, run back to the truck and grab the products. They'd inspect the cash register to see how much money's in there. They'd inspect the lights, the doors, check that the vending machine is working correctly. But that whole approach is very wasteful, and it's also very expensive. It meant that each driver would essentially have to carry every product in the truck. It meant that they would go to many machines that were full of stock, that they were operating without any problems and with no cash inside, which was obviously a waste of time. It also meant that they would end up going to machines with no stock left in them at all, and that have no idea how long those machines have been left empty and essentially losing revenue. So Cantaloupe is in the smart vending machine business, and they offer hardware and software to solve these kinds of problems. So today with Control Center, Cantaloupe now knows in real time how much inventory is required for any given machine. They know where any problems are, and they can remotely diagnose and resolve them, again, without having to dispatch a technician on site. They know how much money is in the vending machine, and they can tie it into the inventory management systems to make sure that the truck leaves with precisely the right amount of product for that day's runs. And of course, this enables their customers to turn a very low margin business of, say, 2 to 3% into a more profitable one with margins of 8 to 10%. And obviously, it allows them to shrink their fleet size anywhere from 30 to 50%. So the next example is with General Motors. So many of you know that in 2015, General Motors in North America rolled out built-in 4G LTE connectivity on over 30 different models of cars across their brands of Cadillac, Chevrolet, Buick, and GMC. And today they have on the road approximately 1 million of those cars. This is a global program that reaches hundreds of countries in which they operate. And essentially, Control Center helps them deploy, manage, and monetize these various connected services. So if you're a consumer of one of these cars, you have the option to purchase and subscribe to various services, the infotainment services and the Wi-Fi hotspot. Some of the services are built into the car. You get them. That allows General Motors to understand the health of the engine, look at the wearable components of the car, to do preemptive maintenance, and so on and so forth. And as you can imagine, operationalizing this is very tricky and very complex. And we are very proud to be an important part of that ecosystem in the delivery of these different services. The next example is Vivint. An altogether different business. This is the home security and automation space. Vivint is a company that sells primarily in the US in North America, I should say. They have approximately 1 million houses protected by the systems. And over the last few years, they've evolved from traditional home security, intrusion detection, to a much more integrated, consolidated approach. Physical surveillance, security capabilities, and bringing in home automation capabilities. So the way they deliver, obviously, value to their customers, not only providing additional revenue streams, new capabilities to their customers, but also in ensuring they have a highly reliable, system that, if it is, needed, in time of robbery or break-in or whatnot, then the service is going to be reliable. It's going to work. It's going to do the notification quickly, and protect people and property. Now, if you look at and this is public information, if you look at their numbers, what they will tell you is that their MRR, their monthly recurring revenues, have increased steadily over the last couple of years. It's now up to, I think, about $64, $65 a month on average. And they're rolling out these new services all the time. They now offer a very interesting, innovative service that's a cloud storage where, from the home security and automation control system, you can now upload photos with some built-in cloud storage plans. So the point I'm trying to convey here is there are lots of different innovative use cases of IoT that companies all around the world are using to transform their businesses from pure play products to services, so they can have this ongoing engagement with the customers. They can monetize new and recurring services with new business models, and they can do this with a fantastic end user experience, altogether driving value to them, their shareholders, and the customers. So to wrap up, if you are interested in hearing more about other customers, and how they're capitalizing on IoT to transform their businesses by delivering these connected services, or if you'd like to learn more about some of the people, the individuals who are the trailblazers of their industry in the IoT movement, then you have a couple of links here. One is the Jasper.com website to go to the customer success landing page, and the other is Titans of IoT, which is to see more about the people in these different industries. And then finally, if you are interested in learning or reading more about how you can capitalize on IoT for your business, there's a couple of white papers here on the resource section of the Jasper.com website. With that, I'm going to thank you for your time and hand the floor back to you, Paul.
Thank you very much, Simon, for a very informative presentation. And I want to thank everyone for their participation on today's call. And Kayla, I'll just turn it over to you for some closing words.
Great. Thank you so very much. At this time, we have approached the top of the hour, so we will need to conclude today's presentation, today's episode rather, of Internet of Things. A reminder that we do have one final episode left, and we do encourage you to check the events calendar and consider registering for that. Immediately following today's webcast, we will email you a copy of the recording from today along with the slide presentation, and we will also include links to access the previous episodes if you are interested in downloading those. Because we have reached the top of the hour, we are unfortunately unable to take any questions. However, we will work with our speakers to address any of those questions that we did receive in the Q&A panel. Paul, are there any final thoughts from you before we officially wrap up?
No, Kayla, that's great. Just thank everybody and have a great day.
Awesome. Thanks so much.